Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here today. I am Anna, and I'll be presenting this afternoon's webinar. Well, we still have a minute before we officially start. So if you'd like, you could maybe say hello in the chat and maybe tell us where you're coming from. I'd like to know where everybody is. Hi from Lithuania. Hello, Lina. Welcome. From the Ukraine. Hello. Nice. Very nice. So I have people from very far away from me because I am currently in Brazil. So it's a big distance. Well, anyway, it's, I think it's time to start. So again, welcome everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on where you are. And today we're going to talk about a topic that I personally consider very interesting, which is scaffolding in education. But before that, I would like to tell you a little bit about Everybody Loves Language. I currently work as a content editor, a content writer and editor for Everybody Loves Language. And we are a Canadian-based education technology company, and we're dedicated to revolutionizing language learning for people of all ages and of different backgrounds. So we have a very wide range of solutions for language learners. Our platforms are very rich in content. So I would like to invite you all to visit our social media, to follow us, and to check our website, ELLtechnologies.com, so you can find out about our solutions and also our resources, like recordings of this webinar and previous webinars, as well as our very interesting blog posts and other bunch of stuff that you can find useful. Okay, so like I said before, my name is Anna. I have been a teacher for a number of years, and I studied language acquisition, second language acquisition, for many years. And today I dedicate to writing content for ELL and a few other places as well. And well, I think without further ado, we can start, if that's okay with you. I hope everybody can hear me well. Could you just send me a yes or a reaction, just to make sure that you all can hear me? Okay, thank you very much, Paola. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And hopefully you can see it.
Yes, Anna, it's working fine.
Thank you very much. Okay, perfect. Okay, so today we're going to talk about scaffolding. But before I start, I would like you people to use the chat and write a word, a phrase, anything in response to this question, which is, what comes to mind when you hear the word scaffolding? So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to think about it and to write your ideas. Oh, greetings from Mexico. I saw somebody from Iraq too. That's really nice. Assistance, help. Related to climbing, Paula. Yes, nice. Construction. Oh, good, Carmen. Thank you. Helping students thrive, support. Very nice. Very interesting ideas. Supporting students for enhancing learning is very nice. Thank you, Dastan. Yes, perfect. Perfect. Yes, exactly. And just going back one slide, the image that I brought on the first slide was this idea of construction and all this structure to help during construction. So indeed, the term scaffolding was brought from engineering, from construction, giving a tool for someone for reaching a goal. Yes, excellent. Support. So perfect. You're totally with me here. Okay, so let's see what we're going to be talking about today. First of all, I would like us to have an idea of what scaffolding is. So a little bit of theory, not too much. And then I would like to discuss how we can scaffold some strategies, things that we should do, things that we might not want to do so much. And hopefully we will have plenty of time for questions and answers, and hopefully you will have a lot of questions. By the way, we have a Q&A box there at the top of the thingy, how should I call this? The Teams room, and you can ask your questions there, or you can use the chat. I'll try to follow both. Okay, so let's see. Just a little theory to get started. So we really cannot talk about scaffolding without mentioning these two gentlemen, Lev Vygotsky and Jerome Bruner. And it's very interesting because since we are a language company, an ed tech company that focuses on solutions for language learning, of course, my focus will be scaffolding for language learning, right? But scaffolding can be used, instructional scaffolding can be used for all areas of education. And when Brunner came up with the idea of scaffolding, he was thinking about education as a whole. But the interesting thing is that these two gentlemen were in fact psychologists. Lev Vygotsky, a Russian psychologist, and Jerome Bruner, an American psychologist. And they were not contemporary, right? So Vygotsky gave us the huge contribution of the social cultural perspective or social cultural theory and constructivism and the idea that language has this social function and that culture is connected to it, and all the relevance of culture, and that everything is a cultural tool, and people need these tools, and they use these tools to communicate and to cognite and to develop their cognition. Right? He also gave us the concept of the ZPD, the zone of proximal development, which we will discuss in more in depth in a minute. And he talked about the importance of mediation. The thing is, Vygotsky passed away when he was very young. He passed away in 1934. And after that, he didn't have time he basically had like 10 years to develop his ideas. And after his death, his ideas were sort of put on a slow burner. People didn't talk too much about them until the 50s and late 50s and early 60s, when Brunner picked these ideas up again and started studying them, and talked about and came up with the social interactionist theory, and then the scaffolding theory. So according to the social interactionist theory, the purpose of language is communication, and it can only be learned in the context of interaction with a child. I'm talking about first language acquisition, and of course, we can extend it to second language acquisition as well. But the idea is that the purpose of language is communication, and it will be learned through interaction with an adult or with other children. But that this is how it will happen, right? And he picked up all these concepts that Vygotsky developed earlier of the ZPD and mediation and the cultural tools and all of this, and he used them to develop his own ideas, his own theories. So the scaffolding theory and the social interactionist theory, they're largely based on his ideas. And many times when you're reading the theory, it's you get a little confused, like whether, okay, am I reading Vygotsky's work or am I reading Brunner's works? Because they're very, very closely connected, right? So what exactly is the ZPD? It is an area. It's a distance, according to Vygotsky, in his own words, it's this distance between where we are in terms of development and where we want to be. And we can, you can reach from this point to this point through problem solving and mediation. So basically, this is the idea, right? The ZPD is like how far you are from your learning goal, right? And how much it determines how much you can achieve with the help of somebody. So the idea is, if you are working, if you are doing tasks that are within the ZPD, the chances are that you're going to develop much more successfully. Okay, and we have to remember that this help from somebody else is really, really important. Okay, and literature brings the expression MKO, more knowledgeable other, because, and let me show you this, because this is connected to mediation. And it means that it is through mediation with this more knowledgeable other that we can expand our knowledge and we can reach this point that that we want to reach, that we can develop or get closer to where we want to get. Okay, so this illustration, it shows you like what we can do, what we can't do, and the ZPD. And scaffolding theory will tells us that scaffolding works when activities are built around the ZPD. They have to be done within the ZPD. And this is one of the most challenging issues, because sometimes it can be a little tricky to pinpoint what the ZPD is. So as teachers, we need to be very observing of our students and pay lots of attention to what they're doing, to see if we are really catering to what they need in terms of support. Okay, are we good so far in terms of these concepts? Because I will be bringing them back and forth, and just want to make sure that everybody is okay. So this is actually nothing very new. So I think this is the part that is more interesting. Thank you very much, guys. Okay, so scaffolding, right? I would like you to pay attention to the highlighted words here. It's a temporary structure that supports the worker during construction. This is the definition of scaffolding in engineering, in construction. So key words here are temporary and during. Okay, we have to keep this in mind all the time. And we will know why. Carol Reed is a very prolific writer, especially when talking about young learners. And she wrote that scaffolding is the metaphorical concept used to describe interactive verbal support provided by adults to guide a child through the ZPD and enable them to carry out a task that they would be unable to do without help. I think this is a very interesting definition of scaffolding, but I would like to expand it a little bit, because it doesn't necessarily have to be verbal support. A lot of it is verbal, yes, but you can give support through other means. You can use other forms of support, such as visuals and a bunch of other stuff that we will talk about in a minute. Okay, and again, by adults, I think yes, this is true, but it's a very limited. It's a little limiting, because like I said before, I just want to rewind a little bit. Like I said before, sometimes in literature we find the authors talking about first language acquisition of young children and instructional scaffolding for children in schools in their first language. And we have to make some considerations for our context, which would be, I don't know if it's the same context as yours, but my context would be second language acquisition in a foreign country or in a language institute or in a bilingual school. You see, so there are a little there are a few differences. There are a few adjustments that we need to make in some concepts to reflect our contexts more accurately. So in our case, we can use other MKOs. For example, a peer could be an MKO, and it will vary depending on the situation. You have for instance, in some, depending on the ability and depending on the skill that you're dealing with, you have certain learners that will be faster in reading, for instance. So they can be the MKOs for that, but some others are more knowledgeable in, I don't know, grammatical structures. So they could be the MKOs for that. So you see, in this case, in our case, this would vary. It doesn't have to be necessarily an adult or the teacher, right? Normally it will be the teacher, but not always the case. Okay, right. So these are some interesting characteristics of scaffolding that distinguishes scaffolding from other types of activities. And I just want to say, I'm not judging the other activities, whether they're good or they're bad or anything like that. I'm just saying that they are not scaffolding activities, okay? So a scaffolding activity, it doesn't have to apply to a very well-defined problem-solving activity. You may have to come up with an impromptu scaffolding activity because of something that happened in the classroom, because you notice an error that is recurrent and you want to fix it. You want students to stop making the mistakes. So you have this goal that came out of nowhere, and you realize that you need to use scaffolding techniques to get there because they need help to reach that, and you want them to become autonomous when using that structure again. So it doesn't have to be necessarily something something defined. So it's not like a task-based task-based learning, that the task is ready and planned carefully, etc. Okay. It refers to help given in an attempt to carry out a specific learning activity which has clearly defined learning goals, which is very connected with what I just said, right? Whether it's something you had planned to do, your learners need to read a text, and you use scaffolding techniques to help them read this text. So you go from the very beginning, presenting some vocabulary words that they will need, and activating schemata and etc., until they are finally able to read and understand the text, which is the most important aspect of it. There needs to be evidence that the learner can carry out the task successfully with the teacher's help. This is very important because remember the concept of scaffolding. What scaffolding is, it's a support structure. So if there's no need for support for the activity, it's not scaffolding. It's something else. And again, I'm saying I'm not judging the activity, because I don't even know what activity we're talking about, whatever the activity is, it could be a perfectly appropriate activity. But if it's something that the students can do without help, then it's not a scaffolding activity, right? So for example, an instructional dialogue or content checking questions. This is a dialogue between the teacher and the student, and eventually, while this is happening, there will be something that the student doesn't know, or student realizes that he or she has a question or something, and the teacher will have the opportunity to expand and to brush up on certain concepts. So this is a form of scaffolding. Okay, because the student needs the teacher or needs an MKO to succeed, right? And probably even more important is that there has to be evidence that the child or the learner has achieved a greater level of competence and independence as the result of the scaffolding. So we have to be able to see that the child moved from point A to point B, that the learner was able to do the task, the original task, successfully and without your help, because we have to remove the support once the process finishes. That's the whole idea of scaffolding, right? So we provide the support for them to be able to do the task. And then when the student has to do the task again in a different context, in a different situation or a different opportunity, the student will be able to do it by him or herself without our scaffolding. That's the main idea. Are we good? I'll just get a yes. Thank you, Carmen. Okay. So a few identifiable features of what scaffolding is. Okay, intentionality. So the activities they have a specific purpose. You have an idea of the whole, like the example I gave you of reading a text. Just one thing, I'm talking about scaffolding for all levels, of course. Right now, I try to bring more examples for younger learners, but you can adapt these approaches for all levels of instruction, all levels of proficiency, all levels of all age groups. Okay, because all students will need scaffolding and will benefit from scaffolding. Okay, so whether it is a 2-line reading or a 2-page reading, a learner might need scaffolding for that if it's beyond their ability to do so, right? So all the tasks, they have to be connected to the goal of reading the text. You can have a bunch of tasks, and these tasks, they don't necessarily have to have a sequence. It could be like a recipe that sometimes you mix certain ingredients and you leave them there to rest, and then you mix some other ingredients, but in the end all the ingredients will get together and they will make the recipe successful. Okay, so make sure that when you are planning your scaffolding activities, they all contribute to the end result of the task. Appropriateness. again, we go back to the idea of students having a problem that they need to solve, and that they can solve it with some help of an MKO, but that they can't do it on their own. Otherwise, again, there's no point in using this as scaffolding. If they can do it by themselves, then it's not in their ZPD. It's just something that they are able to do. And good, great, excellent that they're able to do. They might even be the MKO for another student, right? But for that student, you will need to think of something else, okay, that he will need some help to do. Structure, scaffolding activities, they have to be structured around a model. Just a second, guys, because I'm hoping. Okay, so they're structured around a model that is appropriate to the task, and that leads to a natural sequence of thoughts and language development. Everything you do, it has to be structured in a way that makes sense to the final task. And collaboration, the teacher has to be dialoguing with the students all the time. Some people criticize the initiation, response, and feedback model. A lot of people criticize this, but it kind of applies in this context. Not exactly as it is, but with adaptations, in the sense that the teacher will propose something, the students, he or she will require a response from the student, and the students will get some sort of feedback from that response, and this is what will take them little by little to a higher degree of development, right? So teachers' collaboration is essential, but it is very important that teachers remain in this position of collaborator, of mediator, of facilitator, not of evaluator. We know that this is one of our roles as teachers, but not at that moment. At that moment, we are supporting our students, not assessing, not testing them. I'm not going to say assessing. I'm going to say testing, because assessing is a little different. We are assessing them in the sense that we will gauge our support, the support we need to give, how much, and it's based on their responses. Of course, we have to assess them, but we're not testing them, we're not evaluating them, judging them, right? Does that make sense? The position of the teacher in this interaction. Okay, great. And internalization. We have to remember that the main goal of scaffolding is to create more independent, more autonomous learners. So once the students have internalized whatever it is we are offering them, we should gradually withdraw the scaffolding. Okay, and the way I'm speaking, it looks like I don't know. It seems like something very complicated, very, but it's not. You will see. We're getting to the part when we talk about some examples and some ideas, and you will see that this is very simple. It's not very simple, sorry, but it's much more simple than it appears. Okay, So how can you make scaffolding more effective? Again, this is from Carol Reed. Students you need engagement. Like for anything you do in the classroom, engagement is necessary, right? So you need to create children's interest in the task. Dull tasks and irrelevant tasks will not help. Okay, so this is a very important thing. And when you think about creating interest in the task, we have to consider a number of things. We have to consider our audience. We have to consider their age. We have to consider their abilities, their context, all of these things, their proficiency, all of this. If we're showing them something that is way too challenging or way too easy, none of this is going to make them interested in what we are doing. We have to simplify the task, and we need to break them down into stages, into as many stages as necessary. And one tip from somebody that has fallen into this trap a few times: when you break the task down in stages, work on each stage separately. Don't give all the instructions and then work on the stages. Just, okay, we're going to work on stage one. This is what we're going to do for stage one. We do stage one. Now we're going to move to stage two, and let's just give the instructions for stage two and work with stage two. Because I myself have, when I first started using this, I just, okay, first we're going to do this, then we're going to do that, then we're going to do that other thing. And the kids were like, okay. So don't just stage by stage. It's much more effective and much easier for you to deal with. But having said that, give them the goal. Why are we doing this? So, okay, we're going to read this text, but first let's do this. Okay, now, yes, we did this. Fabulous. Now we're going to do this other thing. Why are we going to do this? Remember, what is our final goal? It's to read the text. Very good. So we need to do this first. So always refer them back to the original idea, the purpose of all this activity. The teachers who work with project-based learning or task-based learning might be able to see this quite clearly. I don't know if this is your case, but because scaffolding is one of the, I would say, tenets of project-based learning. Everything is scaffolding because it's like one thing feeding the next, one stage feeding the next stage. So it's pure scaffolding from the beginning to the end until the project is done. That's what happens, right? Point out key things to do and show them other ways of doing each task, because sometimes, especially when you're with younger children, they may find difficulty doing it in way. So have a few aces in your hole, like to show them other possibilities to solve the problem. And this is a way of helping them, right? And they will get frustrated. This is a fact, because they might not be able to do something at first. So this is a good moment to work on social and emotional skills, and help them control their frustrations, give a step back, and okay, let's go back a little bit, let's start again. There's no problem in doing that. It's totally fine. But relax, calm down, we're going to get there. And we have to remember that children have different times, they have different paces. So it's normal that some of your students will get there faster, some of your students will get there more slowly. And we have to accommodate that and make all of them feel comfortable. And you can demonstrate an idealized way of doing the task, what we call modeling, basically, right? So this is very, very important. Children need to know, to sort of visualize what they're supposed to do before they start doing it. This is essential. All right. So now I would like to show you some strategies that you can use when you're planning your tasks. So these are things that work as scaffolding activities, and you can use one or all of them, or a combination of some of them, in whichever order. I usually start with activating schemata, of course, but sometimes I pre-teach vocabulary to activate schemata, or I do the two things at the same time, etc. So modeling, for instance, if you want students to create a small poster of something, show them a poster that is similar to what they're expected to create, so they can have ideas, and you can comment on the poster before they start doing it, because this will start, igniting their ideas and helping them think of what to do. I think this poster has, the pictures are very big, maybe my pictures can be smaller and I can write a few more sentences. And oh, look how they did this, this is nice, I can do the same. So they can analyze it. And you can use graphic organizers, which is using visual aids, is a type of visual aids, and you can use this even with small children to help them analyze this model. Of course, you're going to adjust the language and the input and the expected output for the age and the proficiency level of your students, of your learners, right? Activate schemata is essential, right? Start from what they already know. Help them get into the theme of the lesson, of the topic, of the content that you need to talk about. This will make their transition from where they were to where they need to be much easier, right? Time to talk. This is very interesting. Time to talk and time to think. That's very important. Okay. They need to talk to each other. They need to discuss what they saw. So some strategies and some thinking routines, like think, pair, share, or I don't know, there are others, even see, think, wonder. They're very popular. If you haven't looked into thinking routines, I would like to recommend the Project Zero website. You just look for Project Zero and you will find them easily. There are different thinking routines for all sorts of things for different ages. It's excellent. Pre-teaching vocabulary is always helpful, so they can start having the language. And pre-teaching vocabulary doesn't have to be something boring, or it can be something challenging. It can be something that involves critical thinking. There are different ways of presenting, of pre-teaching the vocabulary. Visual aids are very important. Pictures, graphics, spidergrams, word maps, all of these things are super helpful. And STEM sentences. I used to have, because now I teach mostly online, but I used to have a corner of my board with, there was a space that was dedicated for STEM sentences. And whenever I wanted them to use certain, I wanted to encourage them to use certain structures or certain terms, even if it was something for conversation, for a discussion, like I agree, or oh, I don't think so, I would leave them there. Or sentences with blank. This is a form of scaffolding because they have the model there. And once I realized that they have internalized this, and that they are using this regularly, then I would not include those anymore. So again, temporary, and we remove them when they're not necessary anymore. Okay. Now, a couple of ideas that you can use. Think alouds. Think alouds are very useful, and very useful with young learners, because the idea with think alouds is that you share your mental process with them as you are doing something. So you could do it as you are doing the task, or after you have done the task as a sort of a review, or a wrap up sort of thing. So you can say, and you can stop to consider, how can I do this? Okay, so this is the activity we have to do. We have to look at the picture and circle certain things. Okay, so I look at the picture. What do I see? And you say this as the teacher. You say this, and you train your students to do that too. This will help them develop language and focus on the strategy to do the activity. After some time, nobody will be thinking aloud anymore, or they will be thinking aloud for something different, for a different kind of task, right? So, but this is a way to help students, train students on how to do a certain task that they couldn't do beforehand. So see, it's a lot simpler than it seemed earlier, I think, right? Because when I started researching this, I thought, oh, sorry, I heard a question, schemata. I will go back to that point, Miro. Don't worry. So I used to think that, oh, scaffolding must be something super complicated, and it truly is not. It's a lot simpler than that. Okay. Another thing that is very nice for young learners, especially if they are in the process of acquiring literacy, are word walls. They can visualize the words, the new words, and you can leave them there for as long as necessary. So it's an interesting thing to have a wall that is, or a portion of a wall that is dedicated to this. And there are different ways of organizing it. You can organize it by topic. You can organize it by content. You can organize it alphabetically. This is an example of an alphabetically organized word wall. And as they internalize the spelling of the word, or they internalize what the word means, then you can remove and give room to a different word. But the word wall should remain throughout the learning, the instructional period, and this is really helpful. And when a student doesn't remember a word, doesn't remember what it means, the teacher can always refer to the word wall. Okay, look at the word wall. Can you find the word you're looking for? Then can you remember this word? So again, the teacher is still helping, but it's creating this independence in the student. So the next time, instead of asking, the student might first look at the wall and try to find their answers. This is a way to raise autonomy. So see the scaffolding being withdrawn when not no longer necessary. And this is a very interesting framework, the I do, we do, you do framework. And it's basically a very systematized way of organizing a lesson, in which at the beginning, the teacher has to carry the heavier weights, lift the heavier load and this could be like an instruction, or it could be direct explanation of something, whatever it is. And at this point, the teacher will be doing most of the talking and the showing. It doesn't mean the students are passive, though. The students will be participating by responding to the teacher, by acknowledging the teacher. So as you're doing the I do part, you have to have strategies to observe the students' reactions, and to gauge their understanding and how much they are following you. So you can have some signals that they can show you that they're doing. They can have cards, and so with letters, for example, A and B, and you can ask them questions, or true or false. And while you are explaining something, you can, okay, now tell me true or false, and you say a statement, and they will show you the card, so you can gauge their understanding of what you're saying. But at this moment, it's you are like modeling the activity, you're showing them the activity. And it does not, I'm going to say, oh, it's 90%. It's 90% of the work during that phase. It doesn't mean it's 90% of the lesson. Okay, it has nothing to do with that. Okay, this could be something that lasts, I don't know, 20 minutes of the lesson, the whole thing, right? And the I do part could be 5 minutes. And in this 5 minutes, the teacher is in charge of 90% of the work, right? Then the we do is when the students start working in small groups, maybe independently, but with the assistance of the teacher. So that's when the teacher walks around and monitors and offers and helps and assists and checks if it's okay, and comments and gives feedback. So it's a 40-60, 50-50 sort of relationship there. And finally, the you do portion, which is when the student can work by himself. Of course, I would use this technique with older students, not the very young learners. They might not be cognitively prepared or developmentally prepared for that yet. But a little older ones, they can already do that. So your participation in the you do portion would be much lesser. The real goal of this activity is creating autonomous learners, is to develop their autonomy and to help them develop their problem solving skills, teaching them how to solve problems. That's the main idea. I am moving really fast now because I still want a few minutes for you to ask me questions. So important things, don't hover all the time. We have to, we're there to help them, not to do the work for them. We can't over teach, right? We can't be lecturing. We should encourage conversation. It's a dialogical sort of relationship, okay? And be ready to let go and give them, we are trying to create, with scaffolding, the idea is to create autonomous people, autonomous, independent learners. So if we don't let go, we're not going to achieve that, okay? So this is basically what I got for you. I already have a question about schemata. Schemata is essentially the previous knowledge of a topic. So instead of, for example, with young learners, we're talking about toys. So instead of offering them all the words for toys, we ask them for their favorite toys. We show them pictures of toys, and we ask them if they know what that toy is. We bring toys to class, and we ask them about the toys. So that's the idea of activating schemata. You can show them a movie or something that will refer to the topic at hand, so they can create connections. So this is a very good way to get them into the topic. Right. Oh, thank you, Dustin. That's very kind of you. I appreciate it. Okay. Miro, I hope I have answered your question. So I don't know if we have any more questions. You're welcome. Vinny, are you still there? I think he got disconnected. Okay. How can I? Oh, yes. You're welcome, Alex. Yes, Dustin, that's a very, very good question. Thank you, Carmen. Everything that we do with large classes is a little bit more challenging. Sure, Natalia, give me 1 second. Everything we do with large classes gets a little bit more challenging. But what I would do with 50 people, I like using graphic organizers a lot. And graphic organizers work with a larger groups, because you can do this individually, and then they can work individually, and then they can work in small groups. This is a solution. So you can have charts with I know it's K. Oh, I forgot now, but it's like I know, I want to know, and a blank column that will be for I learned. So this is one way you can do it. So you're discussing a topic that you are introducing, and you can use that to activate schemata, which was the question that Miro asked earlier. They can write about what they already know, and they could discuss with other classmates later. So that's I think the best way is to group your students and work with the groups, not trying to scaffold with the entire class all the time is really going to be more challenging for you. So you can separate groups and use, I don't know what age group you have, but maybe if you use the I do, we do, you do with them, but with groups, not working individually, that they may benefit with that. Okay. I hope this helped a little bit. Natalia, an example of scaffolding activity. Okay. Normally when you have textbooks, you most of the more modern textbooks, they already have the lesson is already kind of scaffolded for you. They bring activities, the activities are already broken down, okay? But let's think of a young learner's class. Let's imagine that the goal of the lesson is for them to create a poster, like I used the example before. So the first thing you would do is to show a model of a poster and have the students discuss this model of the poster and tell them what they like, what they don't like, what they see, and what they think is pretty, and what, of course, what the poster is about, and blah, 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 and everything. Okay, so then you will break what stages do they need to go through to create the poster. So we need to think of a topic for our poster. Very good. So let's do this first. So you can group them and they will talk about it. You can prepare a small graphic organizer for it with on a half a sheet, like with okay, your poster is going to be about X. So now think about a title for your poster. You can change this later. What I write down ideas that you can include in your poster. Okay, great. This is stage one. Okay, then you move on to a second stage of the poster. They need to find pictures. So they have to go online. You're going to help them find, because you're teaching them, helping them to find websites that are relevant, and find the pictures out. But how can I find this picture? So you show them ways to research the topic, etc. They find the pictures, and then they're putting things together until they reach the poster. That's the idea of a scaffolded activity. It's not like, okay, you have to make a poster, go. That's not fair. You know, it's too big of a jump. So you little by little, you get there with them. So the next time you tell them, okay, let's make a poster, let's make a poster. Then you can say go, and they will be able to go. Does that make sense? Is that an example for you? I really hope so. And Marcela asked how we can scaffold.
Hi, Anna, are you there? Okay, everyone, I don't know if you can hear me. I just wanted to thank you all for your presence. Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I was kicked out of the room for some reason. I'm so sorry. So I was answering your question. I don't know if I still have time to answer it.
Sure, sure. Please go ahead, answer this question, and then we can wrap up.
Okay, and it was about scaffolding for young adults, and basically the techniques, the fundamentals are the same. The idea is the same. What you have to think about is how to adjust to their language, to their abilities. So that's what you have to think about. But it's the same ideas. They have to have a purpose. They have to have, like, intentionality. They have to be structured. They have to be something that they need your help to do. Okay. So thank you very, very much for listening, everyone. It was an honor and a big pleasure being here with you, spending this time with you. I hope you found this useful, and I hope you can use them in your teaching practice in the future.
Thank you so much, Anna. We are very, very happy and privileged to have you on our team. So thanks everybody for being here. Thank you, Anna, for all the ideas, all the insights, all the information. This was really, really interesting. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I wish you all a fantastic weekend, and we will meet again very soon in one of our many webinars at ELL. So goodbye, everyone. Thank you, Anna. Goodbye.